only mission in life to get away from the Adamites and the black devil helpers messing with the white light. Other religion, the wicked don't need tarot cards. I'm looking karate in the thought. I stay on my lahaj, learning, speaking, and reading, and one day I'll teach it to those that want it and those that need it. The master teacher will be happy to see him, and he knows that we love him because we fight hard for his freedom. With love and unity, our shield is the key to the sanctuary of that man. Shamus Kawun man. What does this mean? That means he has his own man, away from gossip and slander, evil tripping and power. What you need to be worried about the meteorite showers and them fireballs knocking down the walls. It's over, y'all. We want Babylon fall. In other words, get out the way. And when Baba comes home, we'll build a bigger town away. I visualize the master with diplomatic stats, flying back to Africa on a private jet, rocking a Rolex, holding doctrine classes, filled with laughter, teaching online, reaching the masses. It's a brand new day, it's a brand new chapter. We escape the gun classes and the natural disasters, and those that matter us, slamming black devil bastards that thought they had us. I've been dreaming, skinny, I'm leaving the lane of demons. Residual is needed. The master teacher gave us tools when he dropped those jewels. The reformer and the water of this day in time. Just look around and pay attention, you'll see the signs. So what you gonna do when there's a food shortage and no source of income to be supported? Channel Ray was our safe zone. When the master come home, we'll have a new home.
Rahubat, Yasar. Greetings, Yasar. Glad to see everyone today. We are going to get started. We have a lot to cover as usual. Just want to send much love to all you guys, Ashak. And we have so much to talk about. And so just trying to get everything set up for you guys so that we can get started with our discussion. While back, Glenn, I'll address that question once I get through our intros and things like that. So we'll try to talk about the Liberia thing. That's an important that's just important, the Liberia situation. But we will discuss it. Okay. So all right. So let me get started now. For those who are new to our discussions, every Tuesday, right? We have NoopooH Live question and answer classes and discussions on Tuesday, right? So every Tuesday we do NoopooH Live from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Specifically. So for those who are watching the recording, definitely check us out during our live feed. For those who do not know me, my name is Peti Sina Tebtu Re'e, and I've been a 30-year student teacher of the profound doctrine of the master teacher, known to us as Panabab Yunanin, also known as Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, who has been teaching us our ancient culture we identify as Wu Sabat, or also called Wu Nawak, which stands for those who make decisions based on sound right reasonability, based on the principles of Ma'at, based on the wisdom of Dahutwi. In essence, our ancient culture was about being in harmony and at one and in tune with natural nature. And we argue that the challenges that Black people are facing all over the world is due to the fact they got away from the ancient culture and they're following foreign cultures. And because they're following foreign cultures, it is the root cause of so much of our suffering and indecisiveness. And we argue that the only way we can solve our problems is to get back to our ancient culture of making decisions of sound right reason and reasonability. Because when you look at the conditions of our people around the globe, anyone can clearly see that we're suffering, and it's due to our decisions that we're making. And obviously, if we're doing bad, those decisions are not sound, and they obviously do not reason out. And so we keep arguing and been arguing. The master teacher has been teaching over 50 years, trying to explain to our people, we must get back to our indigenous cultures as African people, which is being in harmony with natural nature. And in other words, when we say Wu Sabat, we're also saying animism, that existence itself is animated, the living forces of creation itself. And our culture was based around those living forces, which people call nature today, or we say natural nature. And we identify that culture as Wu Sabat, also identified as Sun culture. And so this is what we myself, who has been a student, have dedicated myself, like so many other students around the globe, trying to re-educate our people why the culture of Wu Sabat is the solution for us. And so each week we have these discussions. I'm not the only one who has these discussions to try to address and answer people's questions and concerns pertaining to our culture so that our people can learn to live this culture and begin to solve our problems. Now, I also want to say, if I make any mistakes, which I do, I know because I watch my own lectures and I make a lot of mishaps and errors in some of the things I say, forgive me, right? And if anyone brings it to my attention, I have no problem making those corrections in any things that we say. So with that being said, the next thing we want to do is we open all our discussions with our rituals, which is we do our prayer rituals, and our culture is about spiritual development. One of the things we say that Black people are dealing with for the last 6,000 years, Black people suffer from two issues. One is racial blindness, right? We obviously, as a race of African people, woolly hair people, have been at odds with ourselves. And that has caused a lot of our problems and our spiritual ignorance. We as African people used to be a highly spiritual people, and you cannot exist in a spiritual world of existence and be ignorant to that. And so we're saying our spiritual ignorance and our racial blindness is the two root causes of our lifestyle, bad lifestyle choices. And so we're dedicated to re-educating our people spiritually. So we do prayer systems, we do chanting, we do meditation systems. And so this is our prayer systems for those who are new to it. You guys can follow along. We do it in our Lahaj, which means our language, which is Wu Sabat, or Misbat. We call it Misbatia. And you can see the English translation again, so you can read along. And for those who are familiar, right, you guys also can read along. And hopefully you guys will get to the point where you guys can, follow me with the prayer system, because we should be doing it as a collective whole. The more people that does it, the stronger the energies and the vibrations. Okay, so let's get started. Abdul Kalam Namasat Wubazun Ahmad Kasam Nafar Papaut. Anuki Jawab Pa Ashuk M Papaut. Wu Kalat Ashuk Kawun Jawaf Naya. Anuki Kasaman M Papaut. Wu Papaut Kawun Kasaman M Naya. Anuki Wahu Ama Papaut. Wu Papaut Kawun Wahu Ama Naya. Nakuk Kador Naju Amar Kasaman M Papaut. Wu Khabub Amar Shikasun. Nakuk Kador Kawan Kalab Pafaf Nakuk Daya Jawab Papaut. Amar Wasu Amar Dayani Kawun Lake Baku Jawab Papaut. Anuki Yabab Bina Fasni. Papaut Kawun. Anuki. Papaut Kador. Nakuk Kador. Papaut Amu. Nakuk Amu. Lahahum Manahnun. Layahum Manahnun. Ahumata Karahum. Ahumata Karakum. Ahumata Karanun. Ahumata Jawafnaya. Ahumata Nayawu Anukihum. Ye Ashuk Re'e. Asmua Jayenun. Ye Unatharu Afuknun. Anunata Kharaukum. Ye Unatharu Akfuknun. Akfuknun Akfuknun. Ye Unatharu Nun. Anun. Atun. Atun. Amun. Damazo Wahu. Ye Umafaku. Yehu. Yehu. Ye Unatharu. Yesaya. Yesaya. Ye Unatharu. Yehika. Yahika. Ye Unatharu. Ankum at the pa mufaku. Yehu, Yehu, Ye unataru, Ankum at the pa mufaku. Wu anu at the kharaukum. Wu ankum at the yusanun. Yehu, Yehu, Ye unataru. Akfush muklash nun. Atum re'e. Yehu, Yehu, Ye unataru. Namazo atu. Akfush enhu. Ye umuktam u afutnun. Ankum mana yakala duda salafanun. Wu yasaunun. Mana yaka sawura pa ba. Mana yaka kawuna kau. Manajaka ata akhak. Manajaka kawuna bashawu demam. Ye no taru muktam unun. Akfush muftad nun. Anhu kawun manza manaj pa no taru. Afush anhu. Anhu kawun baba yananun. Akfush anhu. Anhu kawuna tum re'e. Akfush anhu. Anhu kawun khafush. Namazo talu. Ye no taru salafunun. Akfut nun manaj pa mujwa'u. Akfut nun manaj tag huan. Ye unataru afutnun. Manes saya khayara. Afutnun afutnaya. Afutnun afutnaya. Ye unataru nun. Namazo rabu. Pa tashun. Nakuk talub tashun bi pa nataru. Mane pa la en lui tenanu. Kala ranum atni ata laheh pa nataru. Wu kala namazo atni ata laheh kayad iatun laya pa nataru. Pa sawa wu pa tara. Panan safa kawun pa sawa wu patara. Z kawuna nazula laha ankum. Mana saba'at wu sa'at. Ama haday'an un wu shafay'un. Mana salafakum wu dantaru. Aju la yada fasukum. Afuk shana kawunkum. Pa sawa wu patara. Pa hadayan wu pa shafay. Anun tawa ankum. Laha panan shafay wu alaj. Anun tawa ankum laha tem nasuinun. Anun tawa ankum laha ashukuma. Ankum ata salafunun. Anun ata khara'ukum. Anun talub nisakuma. Anun talub nisakuma. And so nun sayim nataru. And so nun salafunun. Anun ata munwapo. Anun. Atun. Atun. Ye unataru nun, ye muftau, ye nataru, ye atum hore, ye nata, ye nun, ye nata, ye nutat, ye natata, ye ha, ye nata, ye hata, ye natata, ye kak, ye nata, ye kakta, ye natata, ye mun, ye nata, ye muntat, ye natata, ye mufkemu ye nataru, ye atum, ye nata, ye shawa, ye nata, ye tafaf natat, ye natata, ye sabab, ye nata, ye natat, ye natata, ye ashtat, ye natata, ye asa yanata, ye nabab tahata yanadata, ye satak yanata, ye hara yanata. Natara shalil pa meye, ye have to yanata, ye nakta yanadata, ye ha haratu yanata. Natara shalil pa nawa, ye nafatum yanata, ye mantu yanata, ye babti yanata, ye sakhamta yanadata, ye hata harata yanadata, ye ba'i bish yanata, ye fa yanata, ye basa yanadata, ye imhata yanata. Natara shalil pa hawaii, ya anhu yanata, ya mata yanatata, ya mahat yanatata, ya khafre yanata, ya miskanat yanatata, ya hurayeta yanatata, ya khantamentiyu yanata, ya hika'a yanatata, ya natata yanatata, ya ma'at yanatata, ya renenta yanatata, ya shay yanatata, ya sasha yanatata, ya mafda yanatata. Natara shalil pa taha, ya sabak yanata, ya anap yanata, ye khanum yanata, ye khanash yanata, ye fanun yanata, ye siye yanata, ye hakta yanata, ye amash yanata, ye surabtu yanata, ye atum re'e yanata, ye tuhutu yanata, ye fawadat yanata, ye sakata yanata, ye ha yanata, ye naheb ka'a yanata, ye saka yanata, ye ba'a yanata, ye ka yanata, ye mharata yanata, ye wapawata yanata, ye sakahatapta yanadata, ye merita sakata yanadata, ye sayeta yanadata, ye garata yanadata, ye sa inu yanata, ye bahata yanadata, ye khanamta yanadata, ye manakta yanadata, ye khamam yanata, ye mahatu yanata, ye kabef sananafaf yanata, ye da amata afaf yanata, ye merita yanadata, ye nasa yanata, ye mdadata yanadata, ye nakhak bata yanadata, ye sakata yanadata, ye anakta yanadata, ye dadad yanata, ye tum yanata, ye wahu yanata, ye yasas yanata, ye anaku yanata, ye afnu yanata, ye sata yanadata, ye sakatu yanata, ye ma'at yanata, ye nana yanata, ye mnuit yanata, ye msataktu yanata, ye mukdalta yanadata, ye warahashafaf yanata, ye maratu yanata, ye amun hore yanata, Yehu Anu Ata Kala Jawaf Paot Nun Re Tun Re Tun Re Mun Re. Yeah. Jennifer. Okay, so for those who are new to us, to our rituals and everything that we do, so we go through the prayer system that we did, and then we go into a chant, right? And so at the end of the prayer system, we also do the Ankh Twi symbol, right? It's not a cross, so I don't want anyone to confuse that. It's the Ankh Twi symbol, which is the seal of what we call the double resurrection, for those who transition from this dimension into the higher abodes, where our Salafu, which is ancestors, where our ancestors exist. And so it's a symbol that identifies those who make that transition. And then we go into our chanting, right? And the purpose of the chanting is about recalibrating your, what we call your morphic field, your energy, your vibration of the body is to work on recalibrating it so it becomes one with your spiritual body. The physical body must become one with the spiritual body. So this is the purpose of the rituals. Now, during the process, so when you go from like chanting, you're supposed to go into a meditated state, right? And you go into a meditated state after that. So that, those are some of the process for spiritual development. Okay, so now we're going to get into our core principles, right? Each week we talk about the core principles of Wu Sabat. This is something that everyone must become familiar with, right? In fact, just about all our discussions is based around these core principles. And so it lets you know how important to understand these core principles and to embody it and put it into your day-to-day actions, into your life. So that's of the utmost importance. So principle number one is Ashak, right, which stands for the power of love. So the whole basis of our culture is tapping into this energy force, which is really non-ether, which is Ashak, to restore our powers, our abilities, and being in harmony with the created force itself, which is all encompassing love, divine love, and we call it Ashak. Second principle is resurrection. The goal of all students of Wu Sabat is to transform yourselves back into goddesses and gods by opening your third eye. And we're going to be talking about that today. We did discussions on it before. So I always recommend, guys, watch our discussions more than once and watch some of the older discussions that we've done, right? Things that I did years ago. It's good to recap those things. So that's important. Principle number 3 is the wisdom of Dahutri and Ma'at. We did discussions on both of these subject matters. Dahutri stands for for your divine mind, and Ma'at stands for order, balance, righteousness, justice. Okay, watch those lectures. Fourth principle is relationships, right? As African people, we live of, for, and by each other. This is something we've always done, and we did a discussion on that. One of the principles we live by is called Ubuntu. So that's very important for our people to reintroduce themselves back to our African principles. The fifth principle is morphic resonance and matrix. Morphic resonance stands for sound, color, vibration, frequencies, right? All existence itself is based on this morphic resonant frequency that produces matrix. Matrices are what produce the materials within existence itself, okay? And then number 6 is soul and spirit. Your soul is your emotional body, and your spirit is your life force. Definitely check out the lectures we did on that. And number 7 is Leviathan. Leviathan stands for moon culture, aka religion, aka Western culture. And we did discussions on that. So definitely check that out. And number 8 is health, right? In health, first key to health is positive mind, right? Sunlight. As melanated people, children of the sun, we need a lot of sunlight. Water, the body's 70% water. Fasting at least 1 to 2 times out of the week. You should fast. The body needs to rest from eating. Herbal diet, the Dr. Sebi diet, I always recommend. Exercise. Okay, there's no spiritual growth without exercise, guys. Tai Chi, yoga, all of those things are highly important for your spiritual development. Rhythmic breathing, learning to breathe in rhythm. This is how you tap into your actual energy, your morphic field through rhythmic breathing techniques. Then meditation, concentration, prayer, and chanting. All of these things are necessary for health. So as we say every week, health is not just physical, it's also spiritual. The human being is not just a physical being, but it's also a spiritual being. And when we say spirit, we're talking about energy. That's all it means, energy. And you have to develop your physical as well as the energy part of your nature. Okay. And principle number 9 is Pa'ut, which stands for existence itself. Okay. Which means the all, when you translate all existence, and existence is based on what we call the SMAC circle, which is based on the cycles of existence. And the energy of existence is aha, and it translates into the word ether. And ether and primarily goes from 9 ether, which is living ether, and 6 ether, which is dead ether. Okay. Now, for those who become students of Wu Sabat, you have 3 goals, right? The goals of a student is 1, to raise the self, 2, to fight Leviathan, and 3, work to build Sabbatia. Now, when you go back to goal number 1, the first thing in being a Sabian is you must become born again, as the Christians teach, by living, learning, and living the culture of Wu Sabat, right? And it's giving up the old culture, Western culture, for the new culture, which is Wu Sabat. And once you do that, one of the first objective is to correct your name, right? Correct your name by choosing a Sabian name and make it known to all. So that's really important. Correct how you dress, learn to speak Sabian, which is Misbatia, we call it, our language. You must study our doctrine every day. This is key. This is how you develop the right knowledge. And you must practice and master our daily rituals. And there's nothing you can do without being positive. So you always have to be positive, guys. Always be positive. Number 2 is of your goals is to fight Leviathan, right? This is we're dedicated to fighting Leviathan, which is 6 ether. This includes working to free Panabab Yanana, who's been kidnapped, promoting Wu Sabat, right? And so that our people can get away from the culture of Leviathan and become a student teacher and fight the 6 strongest weapons of Leviathan, which is ignorance. Leviathan feeds off our ignorance, our fears, our lust, our lies, slander, and gossip. That's what gives Leviathan its strength. And we must overcome these negative attributes, guys. And number 3 is work to build Sabbatia. And Sabbatia, we work to support each other in business, right? We help each other reach positive goals. We help to build our culture, and we must set up a landing zone for Panataro in Africa, which means we need land in Africa that will be supported by an African government. And Ashak is the key to accomplish all our goals. So we're not going to get anything done without Ashak, guys. And now, what does it mean to be a Sabian? 1, a Sabian is someone who's thoughtful and cares, someone who's helpful and honest, someone who's responsible and hardworking, someone who demands justice, someone who is righteous, someone who is positive and cheerful, someone who is loving and peaceful, someone who is clean, someone who is kind and considerate. Now, what is our purpose? So once you become a Sabian, your purpose is liberation from adverse forces. Our goal is to get away from Leviathan. So this is what you're supposed to be working on each and every day, getting away from Leviathan, right? So number one, we say you must take action each and every day to free yourself of 6 ether spirits inside and out, which includes Black people who are possessed by these spirits. We got to get away from so many of our people who are possessed by these spirits, because those things keep us down, guys. Number two, acknowledge and fight 6 ether from promoting. They promote capitalism. They're promoting the gay agenda. They're promoting miscegenation and the so-called equality of the races. The races are different. The reason why they are races in nature, because we all have differences. America is trying to make it seem like everyone is exactly the same, and this is just not reality. And this is what we're trying to educate our people about. And goal number three, or I should say, our purpose is also to learn, live by, and promote the laws/rules of natural nature. Okay, so all of these things is extremely important that all students of Wu Sabat memorize, know this, and which is why I make it my business to go over these things each and every week, because no one should be clueless as to our purpose, as to principles of Wu Sabat. And so I think that's extremely important. Now, after saying all of that, let's see. Okay, now, and as far as the brother Glenn and the question about Liberia, it's interesting because Liberia is the one African nation that automatically says that African descendants who live in the diaspora, like in America, are automatic citizens of Liberia. And the master back in the 90s had became a diplomat. He was appointed a diplomat by the leader at that time. I believe the president of Liberia in the late 90s was a guy by the name of Charles Taylor, who made the master teacher a diplomat. It's one of the arguments we talk about when this government had arrested the master teacher. The master was under diplomatic status, and they ignored that, and that's not something they were supposed to ignore. And those are one of our arguments we do fight against. So no, I know the history around Liberia with Black people going in the 1800s and bringing the mentality of the Caucasian. So the Liberians do not need Black people who think like Europeans. That's not good for Black people nowhere on earth, but it is good for Africans or Black people here in the West to go to the continent who have an African consciousness and mindset to help build and educate our people and work with our people for the development of the continent. So that's necessary. That is necessary, so I hope that helped, in that particular explanation. Now, before we get started with our discussion, I know, we was talking about we're going to start a different topic, but I postponed that topic. We're going to deal with the origin of religion, but there's some other topics that we needed to talk about first that I realized and that I can't skip. It's like 4 other topics. This is one that I needed to go over with you guys, and we have some other discussions that we need to go over as well. So, and after I do that, then we're going to get into the origin of religion, because that's extremely important that we deal with those discussions, right? About, religion itself and its origins. Okay, now, news update, an update. We're going to have some changes also to how we do the classes, right? So starting next month, guys, make a notation of this. So here's what we're going to do. Starting next month on the first Tuesday of every month, what we're going to have for our discussion is NoopooH News. We're going to do NoopooH News every first Tuesday of the month. Okay. And so in NoopooH News, we're going to talk about current events, things that are going on in this nation that pertains to us, and things that is going on around the globe that pertains to us. So we're gonna talk about those events that are happening in the world today, and why we should be aware, because there are many things that's going on in the world, and we need to be aware, and we need to start planning, making plans and strategies. So we're going to be dealing with NoopooH News. Along with NoopooH News, we're going to talk about business objectives, because I haven't had or been able to make time to talk to you guys about what we're doing with NoopooH.org and NoopooCC.com as far as our social engine. So I definitely want to get into that. And I just want to explore different business goals and objectives for all of us, and how we can begin to make, or start making decisions where we can help each other develop, and build business relationships, right? So we're going to be talking about that during our NoopooH News discussions, as well as updates pertaining to things that are going on in the Sabian nation, right? What's news that's happening within our nation itself, what's going on with the master teacher's case. And so, it's just different things, how we can help, how we can, come up with ideas to work together to solve some of our challenges and strategies. So that's what we're going to be dealing with which is the first Tuesday of every month, starting this coming September. Now here's the other thing. The third Tuesday of the month is going to be a NoopooH cultural class, a Sabian cultural class, where we're just going to focus on Sabian culture, things that Sabian is supposed to be doing as far as codes of conduct, how our women should be engaging in their day-to-day actions, how the men supposed to be engaging in their day-to-day actions, how our children supposed to be engaging in day-to-day actions, principles and codes as Sabians that we live by. Okay, the master teacher had put out many books addressing our cultural practices. Okay, and so we have the book called the Neatness and Purity book. We have the book called the Family Guidebook. We have the Sabian Constitution. So we have a lot of things pertaining to our Sabian tribe, our Sabian nation, that we need to discuss and that everybody needs to be on point with. So we're going to be dealing with Sabian culture, specifically the third Tuesday of every month. So the first Tuesday of every month, we're going to deal with NoopooH News to give updates. And the third Tuesday of every month, we're going to be dealing with Sabian culture. So we can get into the language, we can get into the spiritual practices, the rituals, and things of that nature. So we can have those discussions. So every third Tuesday of the month, we're going to deal with Sabian culture. And then the second Tuesday of the month and the fourth Tuesday of the month, we're going to do our normal question and answer classes and lectures and discussions that we normally do. So the lectures and discussions will be left for the second Tuesday of the month and the fourth Tuesday of the month when we have these normal classes. Okay, so what'd you say? Okay. Yeah, so on the NoopooH News, we're gonna give an update on the website, guys. So I'm gonna go into a lot dealing with the website, because that in itself is a project all to itself, and we definitely need you guys' support. We need your help, and I thank for all of those who have been supporting. Because we have a lot to do. We have a lot to do. So that will be the day where we really dedicate to really getting out information pertaining to what's going on with the NoopooCC.com, our social engine, and what's up with that project. Okay. So we have a lot to talk about, is my point. Oh, as far as the new Can I put? I don't have a breakdown on the news as of yet, so I'm sorry. The schedule. I don't have a schedule. Yeah, I don't have. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. I don't have a written schedule yet. That is something that there's a lot, as you know, there's a lot been going on in this country, right? And there's a lot been going on in the world, like this whole Afghanistan thing. Does that have an impact on us? What does it mean for us? And so there's a lot things that's going on in the continent, because we're talking about wanting to relocate to the continent. What does that mean for us? What countries are viable for us? And so I'm gonna need your help, because we need to start doing some research, guys. We need to start doing some homework about these subject matters. All of us, for those who are serious, we really need to start doing, some research and some work on that. And of course, getting back to the master teacher, he needs help. And so we really need to discuss his situation to see how we can play our part in assisting with helping the master's teacher's freedom. And so I ask all of you guys to definitely study the video that I did pertaining to the master teacher and his case. Okay, because we did a discussion on that. In fact, listen to all of the videos that I did on who is Dr. York. It's important you guys become very familiar with that subject matter, because all of that is necessary for the master teacher. Rahobat, Pharaoh, Rahobat, Yasar. And so that's going to be our schedule, guys, starting in September. Okay. So that's in 2 weeks. The first Tuesday of September is in 2 weeks. And so again, like I said, the beginning of every month, we're going to do our NoopooH news. So that is that. Now, so let's get to our discussion today, because our discussion today is extremely important. So our discussion is Wu Sabat is a genetic doctrine. Wu Sabat is a genetic doctrine. This is extremely important for you guys to get. Okay. So to start off this discussion, I have something that I need to read. That we need to read so that you guys to see where I'm coming from. This is the Master Secrets. This is the Master Secrets is number 4, and it's why no help from above. Okay. This is the part that I'm going to read. Why no help from above? And so this is talking about, as Black people, we've been suffering. We've been catching it for the last 6,000 years. And the question is, why are we getting help? And that's what this is about. And that leads us into our discussion that Wu Sabat is a genetic doctrine. And so it's very important that you guys become familiar with that and understand what that means, right? So let's start. Okay. So we say Layesh Nut Nasar Munan Fawak. Layesh Nut Nasar Munan Fawak, which means why no help from above. Paragraph 1. My beloved children of Wu Nawab, animism, let me tell you why so many people namuz, pray, ranum, chant, and call out to above and get no help. Paragraph 2. The first thing to understand is when one calls out in prayer or chanting, it is sound, tazaz, which is vibration, and that is frequency, wavelength, and sound is loan, and wavelengths and sound is loan at, which is color, right? Paragraph 3. Everybody's body vibrates, and each salau, which is race, body vibrates as you have in the Nagaru salau, 9 species, and from DNA to 9 sabagat, which is hues of skin color. Paragraph 4. From 9 to blackest to DNA, the lightest of the Nagaru salau, which is race, the black race. And this is determined by what is called pigment, from Latin pingere, which means to paint or color. Paragraph 5. Pigmentation is your coloration in your skin's tissue. Paragraph 6. And the coloring is determined by the movement, motion, in fact, the speed of your pigments. Paragraph 7. The faster the movement, the darker the skin color. Paragraph 8. Movement to move takes strength or nashat, which is energy. That is what at the 9th month of birth, the newborn baby is at its lightest hue or shade of skin color until it grows stronger and becomes darker. Right? Paragraph 10. Their farah, which is fur, will change as well as into wabar, which is hair, as their genes become stronger as they grow. Paragraph 11. Even as well as kakasu, mawazu, the Caucasoid babies can be born with yellow fur and blue eyes that, as they age or grow, will change color from saphir, which is yellow, to samir, which is brown, and zarek, blue eyes, to ramed, gray eyes, to even hazel brown. This is all results of pigmentation in their genetics rules, right? Paragraph 12. So in actual fact, your skin Luan or color is dictated from your yakasat, your genes, from your informational ancestors into your informational present being. Now, and Nuwapians, this is determined by the power, speed, motion, vibration, frequency, and strength of your pigments. Paragraph 14. So each race vibrates on their own frequency and by their own inner energies get them outer skin, Luan, color, and or hue, depending on the strength of their ancestors' DNA, their chromosomes. Paragraph 15. The fastest or strongest is the pure Hamet Salal, the black race. The slowest or weakest is the impure Laben Salal, the white race. And to each their own in between. Paragraph 18. It is all communicated to you by your Salahu ancestors, the living spirits of your own who vibrate as you from the spiritual abode, your own Yasar, family spirits, back to Panatharu, the overseers. Paragraph 19. Even the Quran of the Arabs, which means mixed people, of a Chaldean man named Ibrahim, from Abraham, and his African women they call Hajar from Hagar, who birthed the very first Arab son they call Ishmael or Ishmael, the first Arab, the first Nubian, dark-skinned yet with curly hair. Paragraph 20. His father Abram or Abraham as a Persian of Chaldea, Ibram or Ubram by name, and was dark-skinned yet with thin straight fur, not nappy wabar, hair. Paragraph 21. And Ishmael's mother Hagar as an African of Mahmat, Egypt, was dark-skinned with kinky, nappy, and woolly hair. Paragraph 22. So the Arabians' own warner and prophet called Mustafa Muhammad Alamin from Ahmed bin Abdullah received their book, the Quran, and it says, Quran chapter 35, paragraph verse 28. And among people and moving creatures and grazing livestock are various colors similarly. Only those fear Allah from among his servants who have knowledge. Indeed, Allah is exalted in might and forgiving. That people were proportioned out in creation in different lawanat colors. So the Quran guys talk about that the differences in colorations of humans. Paragraph 23. So each Salau, which is race of people, have a certain number of species within. Paragraph 24. The Nagaru, the Negroid, have 9 hues or species. The Dravau or Indians have 7 hues and species, and the Mungalu, the Asians, have 3 hues and species, and the Kakasu have 6 hues and species. Paragraph 25. And each has to dial in on just the right and exact station or speed, vibration, frequency, or voice as your Yasar family in the spirit to power world called family spirits or familiar spirits, right? So he's talking about you have to be able to vibrate to communicate. Each race have to be able to vibrate on their own frequency to communicate with their ancestors who exist in the spiritual abodes, guys. So just so you understand that. So let's keep going. Now he's talking about necromancer here, the neck, which is Roman, Sir, and the Jewish women who spoke Yiddish, a combination of German and Polish. French created the Ouija board of the German, which is Ja or Ja, means yes, and the French ouï for yes. And guys, just so you know, never play with no Ouija board, okay? Those things are dangerous. They open up spiritual portals. But let's keep going. Paragraph 26. So the reason you see people the world over suffering and dying with no help from above, so below, outside of them, is mind linked to inside of them. Paragraph 27. If they call on or namuz, pray, or ranum, chant to a deity, an angel or saint or spirit from another race's vibrational rate or wave, they cannot hear them. Paragraph 28, they are unfamiliar, not family with them, and not on the right radio frequency to commune with them, as was the purpose of the Ark of the Covenant, as mentioned in the book of Exodus, chapter 25, verse 10. I'm not going to read that, but you guys can read it. Tell us about the Ark of the Covenant. Let's keep going. Paragraph 29. So their Habaru, Hebrews, and Kasasu, Christians, call on their very own familiar spirits, Tayafat, which is ghosts of their own dead Salah race. So their Jawa'u, Jews, pray and chant. The Christians pray and use hymns, right? The Muslims pray and chant. It's all related. Harmon to Hara, which is Horus, or harmony, which is Har, which means from, far, or away, right? Now, paragraph 34, hormone is from the Greek harmi, which means impulse, a substance formed in some organs of the khatat, which is body, to carry to another part, moods, harmonic, so the emotional you is affected by sound or music, okay? Harmony is from Greek harmi or harmos, a fitting, an arrangement of parts in color, size, sounding, of two or more tones together in a chord, mind links. Paragraph 36. So the Jews in Europe created what they call a debir or debuk or debar box to commune with their own familiar spirits. Paragraph 37. Written inside the box, you will see or you will notice the word shalom under Hebrew Strongs, which means safe or secure or peace or friendly. Paragraph 38. And they had many witches among them. If you refer to Exodus chapter 22, verse 18 and 18:10. Now, and the Muslims or Arabs use the same word shalom as salam in Arabic, as and it means safe, secure, or peace. For their own familiar spirits, they call malaikat or angelic beings, and they greet two while in their salat or prayer on each side to keep them safe. The same was used by the Jews in their debuk or debak box or Christian logos by words prayer. So they greet each other with be secure or safe, yet translated as peace be with you, right? A form of protection and help from and by the angelic forces of Wawad, which are good, and Dawah, which is evil angels. Some are the Seraphim are good and Cherubim are bad ones that attack them while awoke or sleep and abuse them, right? So paragraph 43. So they call on their own Salafu ancestors, which is familiar spirits, for help by words of prayer or chanting. And because their bodies vibrate on the same frequency, because of their skin hue caused by pigmentation, motion, and devotion by way of emotions that can affect the very tissues of plants, animals, and humans. Paragraph 45. If you're not in tune with your own Salafu, your ancestors, they cannot hear you or help you. You're on the wrong station, and this starts while in your mother's raham, which is womb, which affects her physically and mentally, affects the unborn Kharad child after birth. You commune by way of your immune system given back to you by your mother, when she feeds you. The immunity is in the mammary glands, or Mary, mother of gods, right? That's what memory stands for. Now, paragraph 47, paradise is at the feet or foot of one's mother. So if an Asian becomes a Buddhist and chants or prays and fasts for or to Buddha, a man who was born an Indian by race and Yakasa genes, he can't hear nor help a person not of his own race or species or hue when calls on him. Such is the case of most, such as the Dalai Lama, the high priest of Lamaism. He could not protect all the Asian Buddhists from the Chinese who killed and took over and destroyed Tibet. Paragraph 50, the monks had no defense against the Chinese invaders. Why? Because Buddha was Ladud, born in India in 553 BC or 5 to 583, the founder of Buddhism. So, being the Asians who accept and chant to Buddha were not Indian by natural nature, they were not in tune with him and could not help him help them. They were abused, killed, their temples destroyed, and the Dalai Lama had to run and hide from Tibet, right? Paragraph 53. The same for the European and Spanish Jews who are not Chaldeans. So also they got no help when Hitler set out to destroy them. The same for the European Christians. They are not Nazarites or Judites as Yeshua, Jesus, so they got no help from the Crusade times in Palestine, Jerusalem. They were killed, abused by the people of the Saqqat, the land, and other Muslims. Paragraph 55. The same for the Nagaru world over who accept any and all other religions, languages of other races or sub-races not our own, African or Tanyak, animism, our own culture, which is Wunuwap. Negroid convert or born and become unnatural in our own nature, becoming Hebrew Israelites, Black Jews, the Falasha, the Coptics, the Christian denominations, and all kinds of Muslims of Islamism of any and all sects or kinds. The Namuz, praying and calling on unfamiliar or unfamiliar spirit beings as a deity by names in Hebrew or Greek or Latin or Arabic, cannot hear them because of the black person's own skin color, the speed of the pigmentation, the hue of the skin color or race, the DNA, the physical body or musical instrument of tone, sound, vibration, and frequency, their own nine ether. Right, so you guys, we can't make contact because we're not vibrating with non-ether spirits, because we're tapped into all of these foreign cultures, guys. So let's keep going. Paragraph 60. The speed in which their ka'a spirit vibrates, they can only be heard and helped if answered by their own salafu ancestors of their own race from the spiritual realm. So they prayed. Yet the slave masters, be they European or Arabs or Portuguese, each and all who enslaved, killed, raped, hung, castrated, and abused, and still do to this day. Why no help from above? Because Nagaru call on unfamiliar spirits of other cultures or religions or way of life other than their own. So Nagaru receive no help and asks, why me? Why my family? Unfamiliar spirits they call out to can't hear them. That is why. The Jews pray for wealth and a homeland, and their El Shaddai of Elohim gave it to them. The Arabs prayed for wealth, and their Allah, Arab, the Lord of Alihat, the gods, gave it to them. The Euro-Americans prayed for wealth and a New England, which is America, and their Jesus Christ gave it to them. Even the Native Americans, Indians started having powwow gatherings of the tribal prayers for their Saqqat, the land. to be returned, and wealth, and their great grandfathers and mothers are giving it to them. The same for the Mongoloid Asians. The same for the Mujvatu, the Dravidians, or the East Indians. And now it is happening in Africa for us Africans, or at least some places. Yet the Negro in the world over, under other unfamiliar spirits, are getting nothing except death or maraz, disease, and abuse from all others, and still reject who and what they are by natural nature as Africans of animism until they return to their own. Us, their family, African, they will remain abused and pure and poor if few sell their morals or Baal souls to the Labin Salau white race to get in music or cinema or strip and get a little wealth and fame. Yet there is no connection to their own Salafu ancestors. It means nothing except show. They receive no help, still being abused, killed by the white race. The Adamu, Adamites, the Canaanu, the Canaanites, the Shayethu, the Sethites, the Anashu, the Enoshites, and the Kaanu, the Canaanites. Paragraph 78. Who all pray to their Wakan, Wiccan, Celtic deities, demons of their race, found in their own versions of the Bible, or the Arabs in their own versions of the Quran, and the Europeans, the Kakasu, and the Arabians work together while Muslims converts are being killed. Speaking Arabic, praying in Arabic does not make one an Arab. The body vibrational tone will never be the same. Look at Mr. Sadat, a Nubian of Mahmad, Egypt, or Saddam of Iraq, or Mr. Gaddafi, an Italian with roots of Libya, and Mr. Namiri, an African of Sudan, and the list is on and on with all Muslim countries. Yet the people are not Arabians. They get no help from the Arab God Allah. Only death, their mosques destroyed in battles. Why does not this happen in Arabia? Because the Arabians who received their book Quran in their own tribal lahaj, which is language and dialect of Arabic, are being heard by Allah, no others, only them. Look how they live. Then look at Muslims in other parts of Arabia and how bad they live. The Euro-Americans saw what I was able to get done, right? If you refer to Genesis chapter 11, verse 5 through 6, and it says, and the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. And the Lord said, behold, the people is one, and they have all one language. And this they began to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them which they have imagined to do. Now, like back then, what I was building and planning for our race, Nuapians, and why he locked me up and took the land, which is Tamaray. That evil Tamhu, the living filth, saw by way of our tones, rituals, we were growing, not using his beliefs, laws, rituals, or religions. So he stopped us, the power of Wu Nawab, animism of Africans world over, under Wu Nawab. Yet he had his own minions, black devils, inside with us who worked with them to stop the building of a new Atlantis or Tamaray or Wahani. I learned you can wake the mentally asleep, yet not the mentally dead, who has the white man's mentality to live by him and for his, and of him slave of mental deaf, deaf, dumb, and blind. They wander back to their masters to fail and perish with the Adamu Salau, Adamite race. So speaking Arabic does not help you. Speaking Hebrew will not help you. And speaking English will not help you. It's all about the body tone. The Quran of the Arabians was sent to one of them who was Ahmed bin Abdullah in the year 570 to 632 AD. And his own race of people, Arabs only, they were on frequencies of the Arab ancestors from Ishmael, son of Abraham, and Hagar. So they have no protection. No one heard or hears them cry as the Hebrews, Israelites, Nazarites. They call on their own family spirits. They can be proud found in their Bible many places. Or found. It's really found, guys. That's a misprint, guys. So, paragraph 97. So they call on their family spirits to raise the dead of their race, and for other things, some reject and lost the battles. Some accepted and won. Nawapians, Nagado. Paragraph 98. You must relearn to reach out to your Yasar, family spirits, our own Nasabal relatives and ancestors by demand, blood, and Yakasa genes, DNA, who vibrate on your own frequency, link to our own Lahaj language, Nawapic, or what we say Sabian today, guys, or Misbatia, our language, as Nawapians to tune in on the radio of our Akal, mind, Khatat, body, and Ka'a, spirit. Until then, you will not get any help from above. Okay, so that was real important because that's the basis of our discussion. Why we're not getting any help. And in essence, we're not in tune. Genetically, we're not in tune. Okay. No, he was talking about when the question, Glenn, is he was talking about the Jews during the Nazis. They weren't getting any help during that period of time. He was saying he wasn't talking about the Nazis were the Christians abusing the Jews. So obviously the Christian God was stronger than the Jewish God. In essence, what he's trying to say. Okay, so now let me get into my notes in dealing with this subject matter because this is an extremely important topic. Right? So in essence, Wu Sabat is a genetic doctrine, guys. Wu Sabat is a genetic doctrine. Okay. So that's very important that you guys understand this. It's a genetic doctrine. You must correct your genetics in order to make contact with the Natharu. And that is the goal of being a student of Wu Sabat. We must make contact with Pa Natharu, the masters. Okay, our ancestors who exist on the higher abodes. All right. So, question: how do we liberate ourselves from injustice? Answer: we first must understand that those who have superior knowledge will always rule those who are ignorant. There are three words we must understand. One is decisions, two is actions, and three is results. Okay. Results are either positive, which means you are growing for the better, or negative, which means you are declining for the worse. So when you make a decision, your decisions leads to actions, and your actions, guys, will lead to results. So remember that. Okay. And when I say your results are either positive, which means you are growing for the better, or negative, which means you are declining for the worse. And as a race, as Black people, you can see we've been in decline and we got to start growing. But let's keep going. Now, when you look at the results of day-to-day actions of Black people, we know those actions come from the decisions Black people are making, which comes from the knowledge that Black people have. If Black people acquire equal or superior knowledge to white people and apply this knowledge in their actions and deeds, then Black people will be liberated from injustice they are facing all over the world. Question: if superior knowledge is the solution to Black people's problems, then how do we gain and apply this knowledge? Answer: Wu Sabat is the superior knowledge if understood and applied by those who acquire it. Wu Sabat teaches Black people how to restore their spiritual abilities that made them one with nature. We have dormant senses like telepathy, which is the ability to communicate, guys, from mind to mind, which means you wouldn't need a cell phone once you restore your telepathy, right? Clairvoyance, that's the ability to see into other dimensions. That's how you make contact with Pa Natharu. Intuition, that's the spider sense. You know, Spider-Man, he always knows when something is about to happen. That's intuition. And psychometry is the ability to touch objects and know who's the owner or where that object been. Right? Because in essence, you're tapping into the morphic field of that particular object. Now, These are lost skills that would allow us to restore our rightful position as rulers once again. The key to us restoring our spiritual abilities is patience, right? And learning to turn ourselves inside out. So I want to refer to the book's Spirit and Soul on this particular subject, guys, when it comes to turning yourself inside out. Let's see, where is it at? Here it is. Okay, Spirit and Soul. Now check this out, guys. This is let's see, page 60 in the book What is Spirit and Soul? The Master Teacher. I think this book came out like in 2000. Okay, so very important for this book. So we're going to start at the top on page 60. Now we're talking about to turn yourself inside out. So the ancient spiritual healers, learned men, teachers, and loyal devotees of mixed mystical schools had also had knowledge of the third eye, and the light has been identified under such names as virtue, vital energy, invisible antenna, and a stream of vital power or cosmic energy. Now, the ancient Egyptians identified with the third eye, and his was made visible throughout his culture and further referred to as the sleeping serpent. Now, the third eye is your insight or inner sense that all humans were born with, but most have never exercised. This is the sleeping power that one must strengthen. When the third eye is used, the whole body is consumed with light, meaning the etheric body, here's the key, guys, the etheric body and the physical body of light are in tune with each other. And that's turning yourself inside out. What that means is you have to get your physical body vibrating at the same frequency of your spiritual body. Once you are able to learn how to do that, you make a flip. And what that means is your spiritual nature will take over. That's how you commune with your oversoul. And your spiritual nature now, or your higher self, can take over and control the physical body, because now you'll become one with it. Because right now, today, we operate as a human being. And a lot of our people don't even realize they even have a spirit. So you're operating from the outside in. When you develop yourself spiritually, you're going to operate from the inside out. I hope you get that. Okay. It also goes on to say, let me just see this. Next page. It says, although all throughout the scriptures, references are made to the third eye, not the physical eye. This is the power that resides within every human being. It is dormant, waiting for the proper channels to be activated so that this power can become active. This is a power that must be exercised through meditation, proper diet, discipline, and daily rituals that will attune you with your natural supreme state in which humans were created. Okay, guys? And so this is why you hear me always talking about the rituals. You have to do the rituals to develop yourself, to make that flip, to get yourself in tune. So that's extremely important. So now let's get back to our discussion. Okay, so now we go on to say why. So we do this by, so here's the thing. In developing yourself spiritually, it says we do this by negation, letting go of worldly desires, starting with food and becoming less dense. That's the key, guys. You got to drop down to your natural weight. You have to figure out what should be your natural body weight, because that's one of the things that's been blocking us, the weight, the density of the body. And so when the body is really dense, it makes it almost impossible for you to tap into your spirit energy. Okay, so that's really, really important that you guys understand this. Now let's keep going. Now remember, the spirit grew the body. So once you let go of your desires for the body, practice your daily rituals, and always stay positive, you become connected with your spiritual self, right? So that's also key. Now, But here's the thing. But my 30 years of experience has taught me that most students do not understand right knowledge, which makes it impossible for them to apply this spiritual science in order to benefit their lives for the better. I learned that most Black people who come into right knowledge are looking to escape the effects of racism, white supremacy, but do not really want to give up white people or their culture. Our connection to Western culture keeps us spiritually trapped. The proof of this statement is in the fact that when someone leaves our nation, the Sabaean nation, and I'm talking about from 30 years of experience, they most likely reintegrate themselves right back into Western culture, never bothering to develop their inner power simply because they never believed or acknowledged that they have such abilities, guys. So, question, why do you think students of Wu Sabat do not want to give up white people's culture? Answer, learned helplessness. Black people have been under the rulership of racism, white supremacy for over 500 years, which have changed our genetics, which is the cause of the negative Negro slave mind that we have. So our people are extremely negative. Negro stands for negative growth, and slave mind, which is why we're so comfortable working for white people, making money from white people, making white people rich. That's the slave mind. We don't have the desire to do for self. Okay, so we go on to say, Panabad Yananis said in his intro, when you read the intro to this Right Knowledge Scrolls, guys, let me read this to y'all. I've read this numerous of times before, and I'm going to read it again. This is the Right Knowledge Scroll. This particular scroll came out in like 2000 also. And he says in the very beginning, author's note, he says, I've devoted my visit to this planet to the resurrection of the mentally dead, which I affectionately refer to as mummies. Never did I know that the evil one had done such a great job with these people, both mentally and physically, as to have them hate self and kind. My greatest dilemma, guys, he says, my greatest dilemma and hindrance has been the black devil, born amongst you and by you, married to you, socializing with you, praying in the same sacred houses of worship as you. But secretly, they have a spiritual pact with the devil, which makes it near impossible for them to totally surrender to NoopooH. But for the few chosen from the many called, I sift to find those beings that wish to become one with the supreme in all, right? Those who want to develop themselves, to become one with the creative force. So I, the supreme grand hierophant, Amun NoopooH Akhta, as I am known throughout the mystical schools, the incarnation of the Hutri, thought the student of the great tomb, known as Atumure, the first point of resurrection from ignorance to the right knowledge, the right wisdom, and the right understanding. I have blended in with each of the religions most interesting to my people. I lived as one of them. I practiced as one of them in order to reveal the misconceptions of these doctrines that have plagued and diseased the minds of my people. Okay, and so as you guys can see, this has been a huge challenge for the master teacher, trying to get our people to embrace our culture, right? Our African culture. But so many of us do not want to do the things necessary to fix ourselves, to correct ourselves, right? And so that's why I'm trying to explain to you, in order for this to work, for you to develop yourself, you have to fix your genetics. You have to correct your genetics, and that takes the spiritual work. And unfortunately, you'll notice a lot of students just don't do it. They don't do the spiritual work. But let me keep going. It goes on to say, prison has been proven, right, to be a tool used to make a person conform to that lifestyle. So I was talking about the problem with so many of our people is learned helplessness. We learn to be helpless, and prison is one of those things that conditions you to be like that. And then I go on to say, this is why we teach that Wu Sabat is a genetic doctrine. Only those whose genetics are not too damaged will be able to use this doctrine as a tool of liberation. The rulers of this world knows that people that control of people's genetics are key, which is why they promote race mixing, Mixed children will find it very hard to let go of white culture, right? Or European culture. Keep in mind that a lot of black people in the West have as much as 20% Caucasian DNA. The human body is made of DNA, and DNA can be altered by tones, frequencies, vibrations, thoughts, emotions, environments, foods, language, etc. Guys, I want to show you this quick video on this subject to give you guys some insight about epigenetics. Okay, so just check this out and see what you think.
Scientists are discovering that human DNA Grammarly is by your side, especially when you have a mountain of work and alterations can and do happen. In fact, they found out that a person's lifestyle has a significant impact on our DNA.
So what we do as humans, the choices we do, the way we treat ourselves and our body, changes the way our genes are wired.
Over the course of 15 years, Dr. Andrea Beccarelli has been studying epigenetics and the effects that lifestyle choices and the environment have on our DNA.
The mechanism we study is called methylation, is the addition of a small chemical group onto the DNA that do not change the DNA sequence, but do change whether a gene is on and off. That's particularly important for the creation of our bodies.
Dr. Beccarelli's work shows that DNA alterations occur based on the lifestyle choices we make.
The epigenome changes all the time, and therefore it allows for our bodies to be resilient, to adapt to the challenges of every day, and this is why we can read what the lifestyles do on our DNA. So whether we smoke, whether we exercise, whether we do things that can change our bodies. We can use this as an internal built-in biosensor to record everything we do.
Under epigenetics, one of the lifestyle factors that alters DNA structure is diet. The food we eat can trigger chemical reactions in the body that cause DNA alterations. It shows how our food choices influence the expression of our genes and consequently our health and well-being. At the same time, physical exercise leads to epigenetic modifications that can help improve our health. And these modifications can reduce mutations of cancer cells. However, bad lifestyle habits, like smoking, can have negative effects on our DNA. A study shows that exposure to cigarette smoke can also trigger epigenetic changes that can lead to lung cancer. As such, Dr. Beccarelli's discoveries help us understand the link between lifestyle and disease, and further encourage us to live a healthy lifestyle.
What's interesting is that these programs in the DNA can be regulative. So if you change your lifestyle 1 year, 2 years from now, you'll be able to see that what was wrong in your DNA is going back to normal. So I think it will be an amazing motivation for each of us to work on ourselves and to work on our health.
Clearly, epigenetics highlight the importance of our lifestyle choices and remind us to live healthy in the years to come.
Okay, guys, so you hear that, right? So the culture that you live affects your genetics. The culture that you live affects your genetics. So understand, guys, we've been under racism, white supremacy for 500 years. So we've been passing down corrupted genetics for 500 years, and we inherit those things. So many of our people are tied to Caucasian culture, and so it makes it very difficult for them to come into a culture like Wu Sabat to identify with their Africanness, because it's encoded in their DNA. It takes a very strong person to break out of that. So, you know, I hope you guys are getting that. So let me keep going. So DNA shape the way people look, feel, behave, and think. And this is accomplished by the culture that someone lives, right? This is why during slavery, the main goal of white people was to make black people forget their African heritage and embrace Western culture, which altered our DNA over time. Question: are you saying that someone can claim to be pro-black, but yet don't really want to separate from white people? Answer: yes. Black people do not understand how much we are different from white people. If we did, we would be working every day to get away from them, but we don't. Black is opposite to white, which means our natural cultures are opposite, which means that living an opposite culture would harm you. Such as black people must be outdoors in the sun 90% of the time, but if white people did this, it would be damaging to them. The facts above prove why black people should never allow their children to be educated by white people and should be working each and every day to become independent of them. But our corrupted genetics, which opens the door to spirit being possession, cause us to desire to stay with white people regardless of the abuse that we receive from them each and every day. They control all the federal and state laws of government, and we say or do nothing to change this. They control the money supply, and we say and do nothing to change this. They control the educational system, and we say or do nothing to change this. They control all the resources and land, and we say or do nothing to change this. They control the food supply, they control the media, they control healthcare, and we say or do nothing to change none of these things. Keep in mind, everything we do in these fields are copies of white people, and nothing is African-minded because we lost our African mind, nor care or understand why we must have an African mind. All the above statements means is that we have been conditioned to accept slave mind and behavior, which is sadly rooted within our DNA. Question: how do we change all these things for the better? Answer: Wu Sabat is the only solution to these problems, but it takes strong genetic desires to push oneself to live Wu Sabat. This is why we teach resurrection of dead minds. The mind is your control. Weak minds do weak things. Strong minds do powerful things. The first step to a strong mind is ashak. Black people cannot rise until you get rid of the negative slave mind and self-fulfilling ego, right? So our people, as everyone knows, are extremely negative, and our slave mind, we feel so comfortable serving the Europeans, right? And we're deluded by our egos, guys. That's why we can't listen to nobody. We don't want to work together. We don't want to do nothing together, and because that ego, and that's that 60th spirit in us. But let's keep going. These actions are not possible unless you have the willpower to change, or AKA the nine mind. You must develop your nine mind. That's the only way you're gonna fix yourself. Now, you cannot change for the better until you learn and practice humility. Guys, humility is key to humble yourself, and our people hate doing that. But let's keep going. Black people are so full of genetic fear from centuries of racism, white supremacy, that they are always on defense, which blocks them from understanding who their friends are and who their foes are, regardless of race, because 6 ether comes in black and white bodies. Your friends are those who do things to help you be better without looking for a return. And you become a true friend when you do things for your friends which make them better without you looking for a return. Okay? Now, you must learn the 4 classes of making a decision, guys. The 4 classes, and I got this from years ago from the guy by the name of Tony Robbins, for those who have heard of him. He talks about this. So you have 4 classes of decisions, right? And I call it right knowledge decisions, which is Wu Sabat culture based on peace and divine love. So you have class 1 decision. Class 1 is a decision that's something that feels good, is good for you, is good for others, and it serves the greater good. So what would be a class 1 decision? Imagine you're someone who loves to work out. It feels good to work out, right? So that would be a class 1 decision because it's something that feels good to you, It's good for you to do it. It's good for others to do it, and it serves the greater good. So that would be the ultimate decision to make, right? Or which are class ones. But then you have class 2 based decisions. A class 2 decision is something that does not feel good, right? But it is good for you, is good for others, and it serves the greater good. So that's a class 2. So let's say like fasting. Fasting don't feel good. A lot of people do not want to do it. It don't feel good, but it's good for you. It's good for others, and it serves the greater good. So our lives supposed to be based around class 1 and class 2 based decisions. And we call that the 9 mind. But then you have the 6 mind. You have a class 3 decision. What is a class 3 decision, right? The class 3 based decision is something that feels good, right? But it's not good for you. It's not good for others. And it surely doesn't serve the greater good. What, like the fast food that we all love to eat, right? We love it, but we know it ain't good for us. Right? It's not good for others, and it surely ain't serving the greater good. And then you got the worst of all decisions, a class 4 based decision. Class 4 decisions are something that don't feel good, is not good for you, is not good for others, and it surely don't serve the greater good. That could be some people's jobs. A lot of us are doing jobs that are not good, don't feel good, it's not good for anyone. No one should be doing them. And it harms humanity. And so you have to do what I call a self-audit. You have to audit yourself and look at your day-to-day decisions. Are your day-to-day decisions are full of class 3 and class 4 based decisions? Or are you striving to make class 1 and class 2 based decisions? This is how you grow. This is how you develop yourself, guys. Extremely important. Okay. Now, last thing. Correct your DNA by becoming one with your oversoul. Understand and master these natural nature laws or rules, right? Okay. And so your oversoul, you guys got to understand quantum entanglement. So the key to making contact with the spiritual realm is based on this science now that's coming out, quantum entanglement. And I want to show you guys a video clip on this because the question is, well, when you're doing spiritual work, how do you know you're going to make contact with your ancestors? That should be the question. When you're doing spiritual work, how do you know you're going to make contact with your specific ancestors? Because we said that your vibration will connect with your ancestors, but in order to make contact, you got to fix your DNA. In order to fix your DNA, you have to correct your lifestyle. That's what all the rituals are about. Correcting your lifestyle will correct your DNA. It will repair your DNA, guys. Right? Now, quantum entanglement will teach you, once you develop yourself spiritually, this is how you can make contact with your oversoul and your ancestors who exist on a higher realm. So let me show you this. And I think this is interesting clip.
One misconception of meditation is that if you're meditating, your mind will be blank. The scientific community is beginning to describe a structure that sounds very similar to the Hopi web and to Indra's net. It's a structure that underlies our everyday reality. And even Einstein sensed that this structure was there, although as a scientist, interestingly, he shared it from a very poetic description. What Einstein said to us, he said, nature shows us only the tail of the lion. He says, I do not doubt that the lion belongs to the tail, even though he cannot at once reveal himself because of his enormous size. So what Einstein was saying, from his perspective, is there's something out there. It's so big, but we cannot see it from our vantage point where we are in space and time. And this underlying thinking played a powerful role as he developed his theories of relativity and some of the other theories and mathematic concepts that led to those theories. So there's a common theme that weaves its way through each of these descriptions, through the web of Spider Grandmother, through the net of the god Indra, and through Einstein's perspective, this idea that there is something out there that connects all things. Well, in the beginning of this program, I shared Max Planck's statement, his perspective of this essence as well. And Planck's statement of this matrix that underlies our physical reality is a perfect example of what this thinking is all about. So the question is, what is this made of? What is the web or the net or the matrix made of? And what are the rules that govern this fundamental field of energy? And what does it mean to us in our lives? Well, in season 1, Missing Links, the 5th episode, I described an experiment. It's performed in Switzerland at the University of Geneva in 1997. I'm going to summarize the experiment for you now, and I'm going to do it from a little bit different perspective with a little bit different emphasis from what I did in that first season. The experiment itself, it was no secret. It was reported to over 3,400 journalists, educators, scientists, and engineers in more than 40 different countries. And the experiment simply goes like this. Scientists took a photon, a particle of light. This is the stuff that atoms are made of. They took a single photon. They wanted to create 2 identical photons, so they took the one and broke it into 2 separate photons so that each one would have identical properties. And those 2 photons, they isolated into a chamber. And from this chamber, they used fiber optic cables moving in opposite directions. And one cable went 7 miles to a town 7 miles away. The other cable went 7 miles to another town 7 miles away. From the place where these photons began, each of the photons was shot 7 miles in opposite directions. So when they reached their targets, they were 14 miles apart. And this is where the experiments actually began. Because what the scientists found was whatever they did to one of the photons in one location, in one moment in time, the other photon acted like it was having exactly the same experience at exactly the same moment in time. They used atomic clocks to tell them how long it took, how much time did it take for the information to move from one photon to the other. And this is where the problems began, because the atomic clock said the time was 0. There was no lag time. It was instantaneous. This breaks the rules of Einstein's theory of relativity. Relativity says that nothing can travel faster than the speed of light. For the 2 photons to have exactly the same experience at exactly the same time with no lag time means that somehow the information had to move from point A to point B instantaneously, faster than the speed of light. This is where the problems began. So the behavior of the photons is a problem for conventional physics. Those photons are defying the laws of conventional physics. However, they conform to the laws of relativity. And this is where the experiment becomes very relevant to everything that we're talking about when we talk about this matrix of energy. What the experiment tells us is that particles that are once joined physically remain linked energetically, even though they are physically separated from one another.
Okay, guys, so what he said, particles that were once connected, which is really your mother and father, right? Your mother gives up her egg cell, your father gives up his sperm cell. It comes together to create you. So you're connected to your mother and father, who's connected to their mother and father, who's connected to their mother and father, going all the way back to the Natharu. All same energies or frequencies of the same thing are connected through vibration, regardless of distance. That's what this experiment has showed scientists in studying quantum, mechanics, that the energies are same energies that vibrate in the same frequencies are connected regardless of distance and dimension. Okay, so it's important for you guys to understand that. But let me keep going here.
2 photons were once a single photon. Even though they were split into 2 separate photons, energetically, they were connected. The term is called entanglement, quantum entanglement. And what it means is that whatever is happening to one of those photons in one place, whether it's 14 miles from the other one, on the other side of the planet, or on the other side of the universe, is irrelevant. They are entangled, and they will always reflect the exact same parameters in one that are happening to the other. Let me tell you why this is so powerful, why this is so important. If we think about the model of creation, if we think about our universe, scientists tell us that the universe began with a tremendous release, a primal release of energy we call the Big Bang. In the Big Bang, energy was released and began to expand, and physical matter began to expand and move away from the point of the release of the energy.
Okay, let me just stop it right there. And to address some of you guys' questions. Okay, the only reason why I'll even entertain what a Mukasu has to say on a subject matter, only if it relates to what we teach. If it relates to what we teach, I use them as another reference point because they have the pretty graphics and stuff like that. So in hopes that it makes the points that we try to make in our doctrine clearer to you guys, right? So it's not about listening to the Mukasu, it's about using other people who are teaching the same exact thing, and maybe they can explain it in maybe a different way or something to help you guys in your comprehension. So I hope that helps why we do that from time to time. Now, as far as Allison and your particular question, that's exactly correct. That's why a mother will be connected to her daughter, and she can feel that their presence, even though they may be distant. This is something that's common among twins. That's a common thing for twins to be connected to one another. Okay. And so there is a spiritual connection. The problem is because we've lost our spiritual science, our culture, we lost how to be connected to one another. We've lost this science, and that's what our doctrine is trying to re-educate our people on how to develop themselves spiritually so that you can make contact, right? You can, because we have the ability to communicate with each other. I'm here in, let's say in America, you have some of you guys, let's say you go to the continent, we still have the ability to communicate with each other through telepathy. This is in our ability to do. It's just that you have to develop the skill set. And so, and I talk about, that's what I was trying to explain, why it's been so difficult for so many students to develop themselves because it's trying to overcome the inconsistencies in their genetics that pull them away from this doctrine that keeps pulling us to the European culture. That's our biggest struggle that we're all fighting. This is one of the reasons why the master teacher tried to create the land so that we can come together, and begin to build and get away from this culture. And that's the same reason why the disagreeable ones took the land from us, right? And that's why we talk about we have to get to the continent. We have to start making real plans about that, So now let me keep going. So now you guys got to get very familiar with these natural law principles. I've talked about them before. We're going to talk about them again right now, real quick, right? This is what you learn through the wisdom of the Hutui, the natural laws, natural rules of natural nature that we must learn to live by. Now, I made a correction. Rule 1, actually, I put as mental. Rule or law 1 of natural nature is the mental, right? It says all is mind. Without consciousness, how would you know we exist? The mind controls all. You can only do what you know. Right knowledge or wrong knowledge will result in positive or negative results. Right. So the first law of nature is to know that you exist, guys. The mental, that you are consciously aware. That's your first principle you must understand. That's the first principle in the wisdom of the Hutui. And that's why I put it here first. Then law number 2 is to preserve. Once you know you exist, now number 2 is to preserve yourself and your kind. So it says life is precious and to be cherished. Honor your mother and father, for how else could you exist without them? Right? And your mother and father couldn't exist without their mother and father, and so on and so on and so forth until it takes us back to the Nathar. Number 3, the law of the opposites. You can't have up without down, or right without wrong, fast without slow, positive without negative. So you guys must understand existence is based on opposites. Something that the Mukasu don't want to tell you guys. He doesn't, because then we have to admit that Black people, white people are opposites by nature. So if we're opposites by nature, it would be impossible for us to live together. So he keeps lying to us, trying to convince our people, yeah, we're going to have equality. We can live together, while he keeps abusing us for the last 500 years, because he knows good and well we're opposite by nature. He knows that. Our people don't realize that. Number 4, pleasure and pain, right? All work and no play, or vice versa, would create an imbalanced being. For these two poles create balance within the human being. Keep in mind, we mean positive pleasure and pain. So now, you must learn how to balance the pleasure and pain within your life in a positive way. So that's an extremely important principle you guys must learn and master. And because our people in this culture teaches you to only focus on fun and folly, always looking for pleasure, without the balance of pain, to offset it. Or their concept of pain is to work for them, to work for the Mukasu. That's bad pain. Okay, we need positive pain, working for ourselves to build up our own systems. Right. Number 5, Ashak Wu Hatat. Right, the fifth law of nature. Becoming one with 9 ether puts one in a state of harmony and bliss, which gives birth to the 9 mind that rules all. So Ashak is tapping into the 9 ether creative forces, becoming one with that. And that's how you develop your 9 mind, guys. Number 6, right? The law of polarity. Hot turns to cold, and cold turns to hot. Existence is based on polarities, always shifting from one position to the next, right? So that's why we go from summer to spring to winter, from summer to fall to winter to spring. The polarities are always shifting from one cycle to the next. That is a fact of natural nature. And we must become aware of that. And you must learn how to control the polarities within your own bodies, guys. Number 7, the law of conditions. If conditions are the same, the results will always be the same. So if you find yourself consistently stuck in a situation, it is because the conditions that created that situation has not changed. Changing your conditions equals changing your results, guys. Understand that. Number 8, the law of attraction and repulsion. We attract and repel energy each and every day in order for our bodies to function efficiently, like the sun versus the earth, man versus woman. So the sun emits a magnetic force, so it's an attractance, what holds the planets in orbit. So that's an attracting force, the magnetic field. The earth releases electrical energy. That's what allows grass to grow, trees to grow, so on and so forth. And it's the same thing. The man represents the magnetic pulling energy, and the female releases, she represents the electrical energy releasing life, right? That's why the female gives birth. So you must understand these energies that work within us and within nature itself. We used to know these things and knew how to be in harmony with nature. Understand the Mukasu culture, he has no clue about these things. That's why his system is upside down. And when they talk about the law of attraction, they keep talking about just attracting money. It's insanity, guys. Let's keep going. Number 9, melanin, the law of melanin. Melanin is designed to attract energy, whether good or bad. We must learn to harness sun energy and not bad energy that comes from cell phones, computers, TV, radio, etc. Okay, so we're melanin dominated people, so we're always absorbing energy, and we're constantly around computers and cell phones, and we're absorbing that, and we have to counterbalance these things. That's why we have to be in the sun. It's one of the reasons why people are getting so sick. You know, we have extreme health problems because we don't understand these sciences. Let's keep going. Number 10, the law of rhythm. Learning to breathe in rhythm will enhance your internal energy as well as put us in tune with the Earth's magnetic field. We used to be in harmony with the Earth's magnetic field, and once you're in harmony with the Earth's magnetic field, you'll be in harmony with all of the different changes on the planet. We're disconnected. And learning to tap into the rhythm, you first have to learn how to tap into your morphic field, and you do that through the rhythmic breathing techniques. Get the breath book, study the breath book, guys, because the breath book is what teaches you how to do these things. Okay, number 11, vibration. All things move, nothing is still. Once you become one with the vibrations of your body, you will be able to raise or lower it at will, giving you the power to turn yourself inside out, or meaning you'll be able to connect with your morphic field, your morphic resonance. Okay, your body, everything is vibe. Your body is constantly emitting a vibration, but we're not in harmony with it because we don't do anything to teach us how to tap into our own morphic fields. You have to learn this. Number 12. Cause and effect. Remember, for every cause, there will always be an effect, whether positive or negative. That's also called the law of fate, or Kadar, we say in our language, Mispatia. There's no such thing as something happening without a cause. There's no such thing in natural nature for something to happen without a cause. There's a cause for all things that happen within existence. Understand that, guys. And number 13, the law of addictions. These are things our genes have been coded to respond to with frequency and speed, whether good or bad. Addictions are overcome by the force of will and a change in the conditions that created the addiction. Okay, so that's 13 natural laws of nature you guys must learn, must become familiar with. All of these things is what will help you turn yourself inside out. All of these things will help you make contact with your oversoul if you learn it, practice it, and embody it into your livelihood. So I hope this discussion helped. Okay, that was a lot. That was a lot, but I needed to get this, guys, to you. I really did. You know, as I say all the time, you guys have to watch these discussions more than once, please. You have to study these lectures more than once because it is a lot of information and a lot of it is new to a lot of people. So you have to take your time, you know, and study it, you know, and for those who have questions during the week when you're studying it, put comments, always put comments, right? In the comment sections for everybody, those who are watching the recording of this discussion as well. Always ask questions, right? Because that helps in your edification and it also helps in other learners, those who are also studying, you know, because you might be able to think of things that other people didn't think of, but they need to know it though, right? And so I highly recommend it. So anyone who have any questions and concerns before we wrap up, I'll try my best to address. Any questions? Any questions, anyone? Or concerns? What'd you say? I can't hear you. Okay. Let's see. All right. Question. All right. Nanya L. Question. At the point when you make contact with the Natharu, what will be the next step? Okay. So as the master teacher has made clear, the master's job is to introduce you into Wu Sabat. The master's job is to introduce you into the principles of Wu Sabat. Once you make contact with the Natharu, then you'll receive the real training, the real knowledge, the real information. So That was the whole point. The master's job is to introduce you into this culture and to teach you how to make contact. Once you make contact, then you can be properly educated about our culture on those realms. And so once you make contact with your ancestors on the other side, you're going to receive a whole new level of education. A whole new level of education. So that's why this is so important for individuals to learn how to make contact, because they will assist you in your decision making and assist you in how we should deal with Leviathan. and because that's what the book I read. And when why are we getting no help from above? We're not getting any assistance because we're not making contact. Once you make contact, then you're going to get assistance from the Nathar. The same way the Mukasu getting help from his overlords. No problem, Allison. I will do. Send you notes. Okay. No, you won't. I don't think this is in regards to Naniel's question about someone who's making contact with the Nathar. When the vortex open up, that just gives you your opportunity, your ability to meet them when the vortex open, not leave. Not leave, we're not trying to leave until we actually get the master teacher out. But you will get more knowledge and skill set on how to help the master teacher and help your family, right? That's another important thing, because so many of us have loved ones that we're connected to who are not in Wu Sabat. But if you were to develop, let's say you was able to develop yourself, you'll have better ways and techniques to help them. You'll have better ways and techniques to help them to help them make the transition, because all of us are struggling under the system that we were all born under. Racism, white supremacy have the whole world upside down. So it's hard. Those of us who are able to connect to Wu Sabat is because of our genetics. That's the only reason why we're able to tap into this doctrine. That's what I'm trying to say. This doctrine itself is a genetic doctrine. We that's nine ether. Anyone who connects to this doctrine is because nine ether, the spirit forces of nine ether, are moving through you, which is connecting you to this information. So that I hope that helps. You'll know you make contact with this is Allison. The way you know you make contact, you actually will physically see them with your eyes. Okay. It's not going to be a thing of intuition. It's going to be direct contact where they will actually be able to personify they'll create like a hologram. Once you are able to vibrate on their realm, they can project themselves because they're physical, right? So what they'll do is project a hologram where you can actually see them. You can actually see them, and they can materialize, or you can feel them as well and all. But you have to raise your vibration high enough to make physical contact with them, so you'll see them. So that's important. That's what the rituals are teaching you to do. Meaning, once you open your third eye, you'll be peering into another dimension. So you'll literally see them the way you guys can see me or see other people you deal with on a day-to-day basis. So you'll know you're making real contact. Okay, it's not spooky or anything else, and not like the Christians say God spoke to my heart. None of that. This is real contact. Okay, so I hope you guys understand that. Yes, Allison. Yes, someone who is new. Anyone who applies themselves. I told you guys, if you do the rituals, if someone who can dedicate themselves to doing the things I talk about, when you look at principle number 8, when I talk about health, if you are able to incorporate all of those principles, right? And number 8, when I talk about health, and you did it for 3 months consistently, you'll be able to correct it, your genetics. Let's say from 3 to 9 months. From 3 to 9 months of consistent doing the rituals day in, day out, day in, day out. The goal is 3 times a day. You will, trust me, if you're able to do that. I haven't been able to do that consistently. If you're able to do that, you will make contact. Because you'll literally alter your genetic. You'll alter your vibration of the body. Especially guys, if you have anyone who has the ability, the strength, and the will to fast anywhere from 30 to 40 days, a 30 to 40 day fast, that and do the rituals, then that will calibrate yourself. It will retune your physical body to be able to tap into your spirit body, and that will set you on a path to making contact. Okay. As far as Ananya L, yes. Yes. There will be those who will be taken by the Nathar to we call the Manjet. They say Nibiru, but it's really the Manjet. To they have those ships, so the Crystal City as well, and then there'll be those who are taken to Shambhala. So once you make contact, you'll get more instructions. You'll get direct instructions on those things, and so that's one of the reasons why I have recommended that book to everybody, the materialization book, because that particular book is pretty good in explaining the process. It goes into some of that stuff. Always remember, Allison, patience. That's the first thing. Is patience. It's about relaxing. It's just relax and just focus on Ashak. It's just learning to relax. That's all. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. It's just relax. I say that to everybody. The first rule to spiritual development is patience. So remember that, guys. Shambhala is just a subterranean city inside the planet. Just about all planets are hollowed out, right? That's just how nature kind of creates planets. They're hollow, so that, planets aren't really solid. And so, you have beings that live inside the planet, and Shambhala is just one of those cities where you have masters that live there, and operate there. So some people back in the day, they used to call it the underworld, but the underworld means many things to many different people, depending on who you speak to. Yeah, as far as Daniel, your question about the 4 winds and the great ball of fire, yeah, that information is facts, man. Listen, we're at the end of a cycle, right? And this is a major cycle that we're at. And so when you're at the end of a major cycle, there's a cataclysm that takes place to make way for the new cycle, because we're moving from a 3 ether environment and we're moving into a 4 ether environment, right, of density level. And so with that shift, in order to make room for the new, you have to get rid of the old. And so that's what our doctrine has. That's why the master teacher came to warn us that those who are still tapped into the 3 ether morphic residency, the human being residency, anyone who moves into the 4 ether cycle, you have to turn yourself inside out to make that genetic shift. Okay. And so the cataclysm takes place because to make room, it's like a renewal process. I guess that's the best way to explain that. So that's what the master teacher, tries to explain about the destruction that takes place with the ball of fire, the great balls of fire and things like that, to make room to get rid of the old cycle and to begin a new cycle, because the disagreeable ones have to be forcefully taken out of power by the Nathar. They're going to be forcefully taken out of power. But before that destruction happens, the children of the Nathar must be raised so that they don't have to be a part of that. That's why they sent the master teacher to teach for 60 years, or as they say, 60 minutes. So, we had until 2030, that timeline, to be raised. Okay. Because they were the rapture, the reclaiming of the 144,000 started between 2003 and it goes all the way up to 2030, probably more like 2033. But that's the process, guys. That's the process. So this only becomes real as you develop more right knowledge. That's why I'm always telling you guys to study. This will help you guys in your development, your spiritual mental development. Is study the information, study the lectures, read everything you can from the master teacher, listen to his discussions, and my lectures just serve as a guide. That's all I try to do. All my job is to try to help people comprehend the doctrine a little better. So that's what I'm trying to do for you guys. So I just hope it helps. As much as I can, I try to do it. This is for Capre. The message of Yanun. It's a prayer. It's a book of prayers. That may be why you don't see it. It doesn't have, like, if you notice, it doesn't have like a It's not like a Patarak or Master Secret or Actual Fact. It's a prayer book. Okay, it's a prayer book. So maybe that's why you don't see it or something when you check the book list. I'm not sure. If you're chanting, this is a question from Danielle about the chanting from the Ashutat book, right? The names of the Natharo. This is the Ashutat book. Okay, so as you know, we updated the enunciations, right? Because we were enunciating those names incorrectly. So the key is to get the correct tones, right? To get the correct tones, the enunciation, because once you get the correct tones, then the thought, they hear you. They're listening. They're listening. And so the better you can speak the right tones, the easier it is to make contact with them. So definitely always, right, whenever there's an update, always use the updated enunciations, the tones. Right. And so we have the updated. So, I've been saying the updated tones, for a while now. I do it in the very beginning of my discussion. So you guys will have the names to call on the Nathar. Okay. That was a question, Allison, you asked me before about what names to call on. I do it every time in the very beginning when I do the prayers. When I do the 99, I do the 99 names of the Nathar. Right. The Nathar, the females are the Nathar Tat and the male are the Nathar. And those are the names you call on. Those are words of power, or names of power, in the right tones that the master teacher gave us. So you can use those names to call on Asar, to call on Ashtat or Nabab Tat, right? And the Hutri and I am Hatat. So these are the names of the Nathar that you guys can call on. So keep that in mind. As far as from Nanya L about the secret war, yes, there is a secret war going on. Yes, there is a secret war going on. Actually, the war is really with ETs fighting other ETs, and the Nathar. The Nathar is at war with these six ether beings, and other societies are also at war, and the secret government has been at war. So there's a lot of wars going on. You know, it's this planet. This is a battle for this planet, guys. You know, it's a lot going on. You know, and this is why we have to wake up. We have to make contact so we can become aware, because they're keeping so much information secret from everyone, hidden. You know, and that's because the people are just totally ignorant to what's really happening. You know, in the world and in the solar system and the galaxy. People don't realize how much existence is like Star Wars. They really don't understand it. It's sad. People are so caught up in their day-to-day life and their jobs and their entertainment and their so-called careers, not realizing that they've been quarantined on this planet, cut off from the greater reality in the universe, in the multiverse of life. You know, you don't supposed to be trapped on one planet like we are. You know, this is a prison planet, guys. So that's why you have to resurrect. So you can, get, so you don't want to be trapped to this planet no more. Akeem, if you're having problems finding the Egyptian name book, email me, right? Just email me and I'll send it directly to you. So if you email me, Akeem, I'll send you the Egyptian name book. Okay. Who's that? Lala Wadu. I think that's Lala Wadu. Can't. It's hard to see the name. Okay. Yeah, capital. Yeah, it's definitely a physical war going on. It's definitely a physical war. Literally. It's no joke that's going on out there, guys. And the sooner you resurrect, the more you'll get all the details on what's going on. That's why we stress it so much, for each individual to develop themselves, so that you can get direct intel, so you can get direct communication yourself, and you don't have to worry about secondhand and third-hand information. It's so important you guys become aware of these things yourself. That's what's up, Zamal. I mean, yeah, I'm also a sci-fi, individual. I watch a lot of sci-fi stuff. I've been like that from a young age, and it's always had an attraction to me. So they're slowly putting out, but there's an internal war going on with the secret government between disclosure versus keeping it secret. So you have one group, so I hear, trying to disclose the information. The master teacher talked about that, but you have another powerful group that wants to keep, the UFO phenomenon secret. So that there's a battle going on. As far as Nanya L, your question about the chanting and seeing flickering the light, I can't answer that question. I don't know what your experience is. I'm not there, so it's hard for me to give an assessment on that. But I will say this, okay? They will make contact with you. The Nathar will make contact with you through that's what I'm saying, through your third eye. They'll appear. You can actually physically see them once you're able to open up your third eye directly, and you'll be able to take shape of them and see them. They'll communicate with you. Zamal, yes, I'm familiar with MUFON. Capra, as far as the disclosure being, yeah, there will be a disclosure eventually. I can't say when, nor will I trust the Mukasu to ever reveal the reality of what's going on. That's why we teach for all students of Wu Sabat to make personal contact, because we cannot trust anything that comes from them. So that's real important for us to keep in mind. But they're little about, they've literally been disclosing that the UFO phenomenon is real. That whole government report that came out in June, they acknowledged that UFO is a real phenomenon. They just are playing around with the whole concept of intelligent life, because they're trying to say, well, it might be a secret project from Russia or China or some whatever craziness. They do not feel comfortable as of yet admitting that ETs are real, but it's inevitable. It's inevitable. I can't say when, but it's inevitable. So, uh, uh, it's a lot, guys, and we're getting there. The goal is for us to get there together as one Yasar. It's about us working together to help each other. Because we should be doing rituals together. The chanting, doing the chanting and the prayer rituals, all those things. It makes us stronger when we do it together. Study the Mutasawa, or the that because they do those chant circles are very powerful. I don't know if you guys ever experienced chanting in a group. I've experienced that. The master teacher used to have us do those things, and they're very, very powerful experiences. And those are quick ways to raise you up, provided you have the right mindset. The master unfortunately couldn't do it as much as he wanted, because we had just so many negative minds, and we have to. You can't do spiritual work unless you're in a positive mind, guys. You got to keep that in mindful. And so many of our people are under so many stresses because of life, and it's so hard for them to be positive, and we got to figure a work around those things, to maintain a positive mindset. Yeah, I mean, Zamal, the truth is coming out. I mean, we have the truth now by way of Panabab. So they couldn't keep that secret, even with kidnapping him. Look how much information the master teacher got out even after they kidnapped him. They can't stop the flow of divine knowledge. Akeem, no, I'm not familiar with that. All I don't know where Midland is. I don't know where Midland is in Norfolk. I'm not familiar with that place. What state is that? But yeah, brothers are doing classes all over. They're we're trying our best to spread Wu Sabat to everybody, guys. Oh, okay. Capoeira. Yeah, I'm not familiar. I'm not familiar with those brothers. I would be interested in hearing. I'm not on Facebook, so I wish they was on. If they was on YouTube, I definitely would check them out. I would be. I like listening to different brothers teach. It helps me out as well. So if I knew, I would tune in. If it's on YouTube, really, it's on YouTube. If it's on YouTube, put it in the comments and send me the link in the comments so I can check. I'll check it out. Check them out. That's what's up. Yeah, if you guys can put the link to them on the comments, and then I'll check them out. But on that note, let me end this, and we'll pick back up next week, guys. So I definitely want to end with a namaz prayer, and we will build definitely next week. So let me go back to the prayers. Pa Balak. Okay. Abdul Kalam Namasat Wabazunamad Kasemana Fa Paput. Panan Safa Kawun. This book is Pa Sawat Wu Pa Tarak, the truth and the way. Z Kawuna Nazula Laha Enkum. It was sent down for you all. Manaz Sabat Wu Sabat. From Sabat Wu Sabat, star constellation. Amah Hade and Un Shafe Un, as a guidance and a healing. Manaz Salafu Wu Natharu, from your ancestors and overseers. Arju Laya Nafasukum, return to your own. Afuk Shana Kaun Kuma, accept what is yours. Pa Sawat Wu Pa Tara, the truth and the way. And Noon Tawa and Kum, we thank you all. Laha Panan Shafe'un Wu Alaj, for this healing and cure. And Noon Tawa and Kum Laha Nasuinun, we thank you all for not forgetting us. And Noon Tawa and Kum Laha Ashuk, we thank you all for divine love. And Kum at the Salafunun, you are our ancestors. And Noon at the Khara'ukum, we are your children. And Noon Talub Nasar Kuma, we seek your help. And Noon Talub Nasar Kuma, we seek your help. And So Noon Sayim Nataru, help us, divine overseers. And So Noon Salafunun, help us, our ancestors. And Noon at the Munwapu, we are Nawapians. Pa'ot Kamun. Yaye Munwapu, and Noon Laduda, and Kum Mane. Mukwanun, Ame Muntau, Faye Pafef, and Kum Kador, Anuk, Be Khabat Wu Ma'at. O Nawapians, we birth you all from our being as Muntaru, so that you all can live by way of peace and justice. Ame Kharad Unun, Faye Aju, Layenun. As our children, so return to us. Ame wahu yasa wu adut muslafu kum panen kawun pa sah tarak lahe enkum, as one family, and call your ancestors. This is the right way for you all. Wu enu at the pa nutaru, wu enu at the shawaf jaya enkum jaya kala wakut at. And we are Panataro, and we are looking at you at all times. Kare Ashuk, Wu Azkor Munwapu, Enun Khator, Enkum Ame Kharad Unun, Wu Enu Rasula, Enkum Modekum, Kare Pa Sahe Tara, Lake Rajula Yenun. With divine love, and remember, Nawapians, we choose you as our children, and we sent you all your guide with the right way in order to return towards us. Butem Raghub, Enhu Aweshanu, Enhu Kawuna Rasula Lake Amud Lahe Enkum Nagad Nadu. Do not reject him or what he was sent to do for you all, Nagaru. Enkum Kawuna Pa Wahan Tapal Salal Shalal Takyui Kawan Pa Nahe. You all were the first world race of creation and will be the last. Lameh Kala Yakha'u Hayaz Zabu La Wahu Bi Wahu. When all others have faded one by one, Alesh Enkum Faula Tem Wafuk Munzar Ohum Lahe Wah Salal Kawuna Rasula and hum Munzar or Wu Hasut Amakum Anudkum Munzar or Nun Kare Nazar Kuma Fayebutem Rakub Shanu Annun Nazulaha Enkum Nagad Nau Annun Ata Ashuk Annun Butem Waud Enkum Kare Nara at Azab at Awek Khabab at Ahmed Pa Muadaku. Because they did not accept the warner, for each race was sent their own warners, and now you all have yours, our own warner, with you all warning. So do not reject what we sent down for you all. Nagaru, we are Ashuk. We do not threaten you with fires, tortures, or sufferings as the Anaku, the Anunnaki. Anum butem shayul, ankum laha khawuf amay jaul, ankum khator wahu afef We do not ask you all to fear us or make you all choose one of us. Kada amay ankum ashuk mudad tatkum wu mudad kum faye laneh Anun Shayul Ankum Laha Ashuk Nun. Just as you all love your mother and father, also, so also we ask all of you to love us. Ama Anun Ashuk Ankum Butem Haye Bi Khawaf Shalil Mawat Anun Shawal Kabuz Ankum Butem Khawuf. As we love you all, do not live by way of fear of death. We will receive you all. Do not fear. Pa munwapu enthum haye karenun bi khabat wu saednus nut nahe lahe pa ba wahi pa khatat aye khayor laye afar. The dead ones, they live with us by way of peace and happiness, no end for the soul, only the body which transforms towards dust. Lake chazui pa taha, in order to feed the earth. Pa wu pa ba raju layenun, and the soul returns towards us. Panen kawun tarak kuma. This is you all own way. Faya aju laya muslafu kum be wunwap muslafu kum tarak. So return to your own ancestors by way of wunwap, your ancestors' way. Faya azkor anun ata ashuk wu anu ashuk enkum kharad unun. So remember, we are divine love and we love you all, our children. Enkum ata muntaru kharad u. Impa Natharu. You all are Muntaru, children of Natharu, the overseers. Pa'ut Kawun. Azkor Amad Enkum Kawuna Nawum Wu Anun Rasula Enkum Munzar or Yakud the Enkum. Remember, as you all were asleep, and we sent you all a warner who awakened you all. Anun kawun uranuna yananan wahu afafnun. He is named Yanun, one of us. Wu zahura and kum kare noot hade and wu anun rajud wajuda and kum. And remember, you all with no guidance, and we found you all. Wu hasut and kum ata khafusha. And now you all are free. Ba'ut kawun. Anun. Atun. Atun. Amun. Jennifer. All right, Yasar. I thank you. I bless you. And guys, be safe until next week. We'll pick it up. Be safe, guys.
Yeah.